There are only a handful of nights in professional wrestling history where things were changed forever after that night. The landscape of professional wrestling was different. How we viewed it was different. And on February 5th, 1988, we got to experience one of those nights. We got to see one of those nights with our own two eyes. That night on WWF's Saturday night main event in Indianapolis, Indiana, we got to see Andre the Giant defeat Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship. Title that Hogan had carried for 4 years. A title that he defended just 11 months prior against the same opponent, Andre the Giant, on the biggest stage in professional wrestling history, WrestleMania III. This night didn't come without controversy. This night was confusing, but don't be mistaken. It was intentional. And it was the final puzzle piece that led us to WrestleMania IV. So tonight, we're going to tell the full story of that night. The why, the how, the where, and why this moment truly mattered more than people realized. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to just kick back, close your eyes, go back to that living room floor in your parents' house watching that tube TV, back when wrestling was real. I'm your host, Matt Lyda, and let's dive into the night that Andre the Giant got the strap put on him. So before we can actually talk about the match, let's talk about Andre himself, because Andre the Giant himself, my God, man, what a character. What a human being. Of course, we hear the stories about the drinking, and man, if Zeros was around back then, Andre might have felt a little bit better. The performance he would have had would have been amazing. But we hear these just insane tales about Andre the Giant. He was just bigger than life itself. He was born in France. He loved his French heritage. A lot of people know him by the Princess Bride. I knew him as the wrestler. He was an attraction around the world. And he never trained to be a wrestler. He was discovered. You got to think about it. This man in his teenage years was 6'10", over 350 pounds. In his teenage years. I was tall as a kid. I can only imagine being 6'10". I topped out at 6'2". In high school, I was 6 foot, 6'1". I quit growing in my 11th grade year. This man was 6'10", over 350 pounds. He was almost biblical. It was almost like it had to be a myth when you heard about him. It couldn't be real. There's no way this man is this size. In the 1970s, when he began his career, or by the 1970s, he was wrestling in the 60s, but by the 70s, man, he was a worldwide attraction. He was promoted as undefeated for over a decade. He had to be. How can you beat Andre the Giant? Who's going to beat Andre the Giant? Who's going to roll out there and actually take down, at the time, by then, he's 7'4", 500 pounds plus. Tell me who on the roster is going to beat a guy that's 7'4", 500 pounds. You've got to remember, we were deep into kayfabe. People weren't smartened up by this point. Maybe a handful, but people weren't smartened up at this point, okay? We didn't have the dirt sheets like we do today. We didn't have wrestlers doing TikToks with their supposed enemy. No. A 7'4", 500 pound plus man cannot be beaten. He was the first final boss, an unbeatable attraction. He was the measuring stick for immortality. We hear about the immortal Hulk Hogan. Absolutely not. It was Andre the freaking Giant. That's who was immortal. That's who the final boss was. You got to remember, in the locker room, we've heard these stories. If he didn't like you, you didn't get to come in the locker room. You go change somewhere else. If he didn't want you around, he kicked you out, and there was no arguing. As a 42-year-old, I remember Andre towards the that latter end of his career, and he was a shell of what he once was. He was broken. He was hurting. His disease at this point had just taken over, and he couldn't perform the way that he wanted to, the way that we wanted to see him perform. There was a lot of times he would come out to the ring and he would do tag matches just so that he didn't have to be in the ring as much. He would do a lot of leaning up against the ropes, up against the corner. But early in his life, Andre the Giant, don't think anything otherwise, was the man. You also got to remember, Andre the Giant did not need a title. I can remember The Undertaker telling me, once you put the title on a guy like that, who can take it all? That's why he's undefeated. Andre drew money without the belt. He didn't need the title on him. He would sell out arenas just because he was in there. Didn't matter who he was wrestling. Didn't matter if it was a enhancement talent now, jobber back then, or if he was wrestling Hulk Hogan. Andre the Giant was going to sell out that arena. There was not a venue big enough to hold the fans. When Andre came to town, everyone had to go watch him wrestle. So he didn't need the title. He didn't need the World Heavyweight Championship. Did he deserve it? Absolutely. He deserved to have that title put on him and to keep it as long as he wanted it. But for storylines, for the great part of wrestling that we love, how could the title come off of? Who was going to beat him? It wasn't until WrestleMania III, 11 months prior to this night, that we actually finally got to see Andre the Giant lose a match. There's a lot of people talk about how Andre had lost plenty of matches, that we never saw. There wasn't a camera in sight. Probably so. For us fans that were watching this on TV, for us fans that truly believed what we were seeing, Andre the Giant was undefeated. He enters WrestleMania III against the guy that's about to take the torch and run with it. Actually, he's been running with it. I mean, at this point, Hogan's had the belt for like 3 years at WrestleMania 3. Hogan is at the top of his game. He's got this torch. He's running with it. But Andre's still an attraction. People are still showing up for him, right? So you got two big dogs at this point. And they're two baby faces. So WrestleMania 3 comes around. Hogan does what Hogan does. And I cannot wait to break that WrestleMania down more, because WrestleMania 3 is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time, and it has nothing to do with the Hogan and Andre match. I think you guys probably know what match I'm talking about. But Hogan beats Andre, slams Andre, something we could never imagine. Once again, 7'4", 500+ pounds. Who's picking that up? You know what I mean? Mark Henry's not around. It cements Hulk Hogan's legacy in WWE history at that point, okay? That makes him an automatic Mount Rushmore guy. But we fast forward 11 months later, February 5th, 1988, Hogan versus Andre. We're in Indianapolis. We could not imagine what actually happens. We're now seeing Andre's got to become a heel. Andre's got to turn. He's a babyface. The company knows that they're going to run with Hogan. Hogan is their ultimate babyface. He's got to be the guy moving forward. We can only have one tip of the spear babyface. By the mid-'80s, Hogan and Andre are not only friends, but they're allies. They're equals. No one was an equal to Andre prior to this. Prior to this, Andre was the man. That was it. It wasn't until WrestleMania 3, Hogan wins. And that night, 11 months prior to him winning the title, I think Andre felt like, I just lost my mystique. The aura of invincibility was gone. His position at the top of the mountain has now been overtaken. Probably feeling that way a little bit prior, seeing Hogan run with the title for 3 years. But Andre never needed the title, so that wasn't a big deal to him. But getting body slammed in front of 93,000 people, that takes away from who you are, what your entire career has been built on. But for Andre, worse than all of that, I believe, was how the place erupted and they cheered Hulk Hogan and not Andre the Giant. This is the first time that's ever happened in Andre's career. It's the first time he's ever felt that. It's the first time where the pop wasn't for him. It was for the other guy. What's Andre going to do? All right, guys. Just want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. All of those things help me out, and it doesn't cost you a thing. Also, go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all under When Wrestling Was Real. Once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And now I'm going to get you back to the real reason why you're here, to the video. Thank y'all. How can Andre recover? What could Andre do to get his career back? How can Andre get back to the top of the mountain where he deserves to be? For him to get back to the top of the mountain, he has to turn heel. There's only one babyface. He has to turn heel. Hogan's taken over. Hogan is as babyface as they come. We're taking our vitamins. We're saying our prayers. We're doing it all. He is the man the kids love him. So what does a giant do? Becomes a bad guy. Andre's heel turn, it wasn't sudden. Andre did was psychological. And Andre believed that Hogan had become selfish. He cared more about fame and fortune than his own friendship with Andre. And Hogan was protecting his spotlight. He wouldn't allow the spotlight to shine on another babyface. What happens? Well, enters the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, the heel of all heels. Ted DiBiase's on the Mount Rushmore of heels, by God. And if you don't believe it, you haven't been watching good old school wrestling. Ted enters the picture, and DiBiase didn't buy Andre's loyalty. He bought Andre's resentment for Hogan. And sometimes that matters more than anything. If you can find someone that will hate your enemy just as much as you, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think I said that correctly. I don't know. Andre turned on Hogan at this point. He ripped his cross off his necklace. He ripped ripped off his cross necklace that Hogan was. I mean, there was people wearing cross necklaces that were atheists because of Hogan. And at that moment, he aligned himself with the $1 Million Man. It wasn't just a heel turn, guys. It was the fall of a gentle giant, a monster realizing the world had passed him by, and he had to do something different. And if it meant turning on all the fans, if it meant turning his back on his best friend, if it meant him throwing away everything that he accomplished all the way up to that point, he was willing to do it. He wasn't willing to do it for fame. He wasn't willing to do it for fortune. Hell, he wasn't willing to do it just for the title. He was willing to do it for revenge. Revenge on his best friend. Revenge on the man he thought was loyal to him. But Hogan being Hogan, doing what Hogan loves to do, hog up the spotlight, hog up all the fame, hog up the mic. Andre just had enough. He was desperate at that point, and he knew how to get under Hogan's skin, and it was through Ted DiBiase. And it was one of the greatest heel turns that we've ever seen on TV. The snatching of the cross necklace. It made you feel it. It made you believe it in that moment. Our hero, the man that's larger than life, well, he just said F you to Hulkamania, and I loved it. Now, all of this has happened leading up to February 5th, 1988. We've seen the heel turn happen. We have seen Andre go babyface to heel. We've seen Hogan be hurt by his friend. Hogan didn't understand it. What do you mean? I thought we were buddies. The night comes. February 5th, 1988. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana. WWF Saturday night's main event. It aired on NBC. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have to sell our children to watch a freaking wrestling match. We could just have a set of rabbit ears, and we could watch Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship. Oh my God. Those guys over at TKO would be crapping their pants over this, crying. Oh my God. We left millions of dollars on the table. Ladies and gentlemen, it happens. And it happens in front of millions of fans, millions of casual fans. That's how you end up getting loyal fans. You got a freaking pay-per-view main event on NBC. I'm not saying you got to switch the title, but you throw something like that on NBC, you're going to get a lot of casual fans to come over and watch it, especially when you have an attraction like Andre the Giant versus the biggest name in professional wrestling history, Hulk Hogan. See, at this point, Hogan had been the World Heavyweight Champion for over 4 years. Hell of a reign. He has been running and gunning. He's the face of the brand. He's the face of the company. It's on his back. It's on his shoulders, and he's carrying it through the 80s. Andre, he loses in WrestleMania III. Him losing, it still felt near impossible for him to lose at the Saturday night main event. It was almost like this toss-up, this 50-50, okay? How could Hogan lose? He's held the belt for 4 years. He's beaten everybody, including Andre the Giant, the only person to ever beat Andre the Giant. But it's still Andre the Giant, and it's hard to beat somebody twice. It's hard to beat an opponent twice. And we're talking 11 months later. We're talking Andre now in his corner's got Ted DiBiase. He has psychologically gotten into Hogan's head. He's hurt Hogan's feelings. And Andre is wrestling with a chip on his shoulder at this point. He's wrestling to get revenge for the first time in his career. He needs to avenge his one and only loss. But how? It's Hulk Hogan. He's younger. He's in better shape. Andre, you're a shell of what you once were. How in the world are you going to defeat not only Hulk Hogan, but all of Hulkamania? So this match had us all scratching our head. How? Well, just like a heel is supposed to, their wins don't come without some controversy. All right, guys, I know that there's a lot of skinny cans on the market. There's a lot of opportunities out there for you to be able to go get the alcoholic beverage of your choice. But if you haven't tried them already, I would encourage you to go try Zeros, okay? Unlike any other skinny can, this one is 0 sugars, 0 carbs, 0 gluten, 0 excuses. 5% alcohol by volume. USA made, veteran owned and operated. If there's going to be a skinny can in your hand, it needs to be a Zeros. Great flavors. My favorite, grape. I'm a grape guy. They have grape, they have orange, they have Moscow Mule, they have Power, they've got raspberry, and they've got cranberry. Guys, 6 amazing flavors from a phenomenal company. Go to drinkzeros.com to learn more or to order your favorite 4-pack. And remember, 21 and over, drink responsibly, but drink with 0 excuses. The finish is infamous, okay? And this is when we just see Ted DiBiase at his best. So Andre pins Hogan after interference from the $1 Million Man, okay? But something strange happens at this point. The referee, he counts to 3, but Hogan's shoulder is clearly off the mat. But he still counts to 3. What happens there? Well, chaos. That's what happens afterwards. Dave Hebner, he awards Andre the win and the championship. But all of a sudden, another referee comes running out. We're introduced to Earl Hebner at this point. He runs out claiming foul play. Stop. In only Earl Hebner fashion, okay? Earl's a Hall of Famer. Earl's just seems like an amazing human being. And we all know Earl Hebner. He has called some of the greatest matches in professional wrestling history. So he comes running out. Foul play. Stop. Hogan's shoulders up. This is not a real win. The championship shouldn't go to Andre. And all of a sudden, it's revealed, God, this is so good, that Ted DiBiase has paid for plastic surgery to create a look-alike referee. Andre gets to keep the title. He immediately hands the title to DiBiase. Well, at that point, WWE just says, okay, the championship is vacated. Okay, where no one has won the title tonight. Wrestling fans are furious. They are pissed at this point. But that was intended. We had to have that happen. Why? To set the table for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 4. Before we talk about WrestleMania 4, we got to remember, Andre wins the title. It's his one and only time that he wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. On paper, once again, just like his win-loss record, we hear about him potentially winning some titles in some other territories. We hear about him winning the title in some house matches, some dark matches. I don't know. I don't know what's true, what's not true. I wasn't there. But Andre was also very selfless. He loved the industry. Andre was a shell of what he once was. And Andre knew that he wasn't going to be able to carry the company into the future. I think them putting the title on him was a nod to his career, a thank you to his career. It was the right thing to do. But it was also, they set it up perfect because they needed to get the title off Hogan. He'd had it for 4 years at this point. They wanted to give it to Andre as a nod, and they needed to set up something for WrestleMania 4. So the best way to do it was let Andre get revenge and win the title against Hogan, have him turn heel. That solidifies Hogan as the babyface, the ultimate babyface, the top of the mountain babyface for the company. And it was done perfectly. It was done perfect. Andre didn't need the title. It really needed him in that moment. WWE needed him to have that title in that moment. That night, Hogan's historic reign ended after 4 years. It created chaos at the top of the company, which was fun for the fans to see and feel. It allowed WWE to kind of reset the championship race and the championship picture and the landscape of how the championship was going to be held moving forward and who was going to hold it. And it also protected everyone. I mean, Hogan, he didn't lose clean. God knows he didn't like to lose clean. We all have heard those stories. Andre didn't look weak. Protected the mystique of Andre the Giant. And Ted DiBiase became the ultimate villain. This put DiBiase at the top of the mountain for heels. He was the ultimate bad guy now. The ultimate villain. You can't argue with me on that, in my opinion. It led directly to WrestleMania IV. WWF ended up having a championship tournament that night for the title. Hogan, just like Andre chased revenge from WrestleMania III, Hogan was now chasing revenge just like Andre did. Title be damned, I've got to get revenge against the man who betrayed me, who turned his back on me. Andre at that point became Hogan's greatest rival. Not just an opponent, but someone that we look back and we think about Andre the Giant, we think about Hogan. We think about Hogan, we think about Andre the Giant. Anybody that loves the history of wrestling, they put those two men together. His reign only lasted for minutes, but the impact of that night lasted forever. That night proved that wrestling didn't need realism. It needed emotion, controversy, and belief. And for one night in 1988, the impossible happened. Andre the Giant stood on top of the wrestling world, exactly where he deserved to be. Ladies and gentlemen, February 5th, 1988, Andre the Giant got what he deserved, the title. How he got it, you might have thought it was dirty, but it was done exactly how it needed to be done. Unfortunately, Andre the Giant passed away way too early. I'm just glad that the wrestling world allowed him to feel that belt in his hand, to know what it was like to be a world heavyweight champion. I'm glad that Hulk Hogan allowed him to have that moment and gave him that moment. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you could, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, comment below your favorite Andre moment. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to read about them. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for supporting me. And thank you to all the sponsors. Zeros, thank you for having my back. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you next week. And remember, wrestling is real, and so is God.